Yeah. And- yeah. But yes, yes, I give the public thank you for bopping on it very much the last minute. So you did
Thanks.
not know we would be doing this, what, 2 hours ago?
Yeah, when we were chatting, we were covering the Twilight Zone episode, the Jeopardy room, and you said Airport 75, and I said, I freaking love Airport 75.
This is now podcast 1999. We don't go crazy, but you can drop an F-bomb if you run this one if you feel like it.
Okay, good. It was close. That was a close call there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, okay. I guess what I'll do is I'll pop into it. I'll try and use my bad actor skills a little bit to set up the situation or whatever. And then yeah, I don't want to keep you on forever. So we can just kind of go over light stuff and then Mark will, throw in probably about 10 minutes of whatever.
Hmm.
So then that's a full episode and should be
Yeah, there you
entertaining
go.
in that way. Trying to make lemonade out of those lemons.
Yeah.
Hello, welcome to Podcast 1999. It's where we take a look at all of the episodes of Airport 75. Um, I don't usually intro this one. Things are a little weird today. Mark was en route to this podcast by airplane, of course. It's Airport 75.
Yeah, light twin engine airplane, if I remember right.
That's right. When the space gorilla from The Rules of Luton, Space 1999's Luton, hit the airplane, knocking the pilot out of the airplane and onto this podcast. Hi, Captain Mike. It's Mike Richards from
That's
Mission Log
me.
to Orville. Yeah, you're flying Mark's plane. Now you're here. Talk about Airport 75 a bit. Yeah.
Oh, good to be here, man. I when you brought this up, it reminded me of at one point, I think it was Stars had all of the airport movies on, and I have to struggle not to say airplane. It had all of the airport movies on, and my wife and I watched them, sequentially over a course of several days, and I reacted genuinely. I love Airport 75. I think it is just so. I think when I saw it, it was probably the first one of the movies that I saw, and I was about 8, so it had a major impact on my psyche and how I think of how air transportation should be done.
See, I was born in 79, so by the time I'm watching movies, to an 8-year-old, it's like I'm just going to put on Airplane, right? And or
Yeah.
Airplane 2, which
Uh-huh.
has William Shatner and they go into space on a space plane. So, as a kid that appealed to me.
It had
So
William Shatner? Why wasn't I told?
took me a second there. Okay, it has been a little while. The funny thing is, I haven't watched Airplane recently because about 10 years ago, when my daughter's about 5 years old, I'm like, oh, I'll put on Airplane. It'll be silly. Everyone will have fun. Uh, that humor
No.
does not translate in Japan. It just doesn't.
Oh,
It
it
just
doesn't.
doesn't. It's too specific and just it's too much of a mindset. But the thing is, so I haven't seen the airport movies, and watching this one, I yeah, it's only 2% less funny.
So what's funny about Airplane is that it's technically a remake of a film called Zero Hour! Exclamation point.
Right.
Much like Airplane! Exclamation point, and it's almost line for line. Definitely sequences of that film are line for line. It's fantastic. TMC, introed by the great Ben Mankiewicz, had a night of airplane disaster films, and that was one of them. And I really enjoyed that because it was so many of the lines in that film are familiar, if not just exactly duplicated in the movie Airplane.
Yeah, I know I've seen like the YouTube side by sides, and you're like, oh, no way. I mean, it takes a lot from this. I think this is probably the air 70s airport movies. It probably takes the most from.
I think so too, because you have the singing nun and you have the yeah, so much of Airport 75 made it into Airplane.
Yeah, kind of the details. But yeah, like you said, just for cheese ball lines and stuff, you got to go
Hmm.
back to the 50s for that. I mean,
Oh
well,
yeah.
especially when you're making the movie in 1979, like 1975 dialogue won't sound weird yet, but 1955 dialogue
Hmm.
might if it's a little hacky, because now
Oh,
you
come
watch
on, Matthew. That dialogue was swell.
because you watch Airport 75 now, and yeah, it is just like weird, stilted dialogue, and I mean that as a compliment, but
Yeah. I
well,
love, man, there's so many good, I mean, there's so many neat lines in that movie. I think that was the one where once think they finished with the climb checklist. I haven't seen it in years, but the captain says skill and daring once again overcome fear and trepidation. Um, I'm just like, yes. So every once in a while I drop that line, but as the captain flying with first officers that are normally 20 years younger than I am, they don't get the
What they
line.
don't make everyone watch these movies as a prep.
Every once in a while I'll be like, how did you make it this far in your career without seeing any of these?
Well, I think you've got a radio there, and Mark's got the plot synopsis and trivia done the other way. So let's see if we can contact him a bit.
Calling Mark, come
Uh,
in, Mark.
uh, Okay, sounds like a harrowing adventure he's having up in the sky there. So hopefully they'll get a pilot soon. But yeah, if you need a refresh with the movie, there you go. And I mean, as trivia went through the actors, but I feel like we have to go through the actors. Kind of maybe we can performance review them a bit for this movie, I guess. They're just this is one of
Sure
those.
can.
Okay, I'll start here. Who is your person in this movie? This with
Eric
all
Estrada.
I do have the note in here. What is it? When I made the note, where does
Now,
he die?
to know what a geek I am, I have not seen this movie in years, and I've done zero prep for this. So to drop Eric Estrada right away, yeah, that's where I live.
Okay, Eric's gonna F-bomb. Is he the MVP of this movie? I was agreeing with you early in the movie, but then three lines later in my notes, it's like, not sexy Eric. So he's for me, I agree with you, but he's not in the movie enough because he dies real fast.
No, he's not. His shirt's not nearly as tight as it was when he was playing Ponch.
I loved Chips when I was like 3 years old too. I was a 3-year-old that religiously watched Chips and had the action figures and stuff.
Yeah, man. He probably had a Leif Garrett, uh, fathead or something because he didn't. I know he was in an episode of Chips.
What's funny because this just breaking the conceit. We're April Fools. Of course, we usually do Planet of the Apes TV series at this moment in time, and just that vibe, 70s TV, Route 66, Planet of the Apes, uh, Dukes of Hazzard. God, what who show are you? Chips? Yes, all of them are like light haired guy, dark haired guy, right? Like
Oh yeah, yeah. We,
spiky.
we were talking about that with the series, Planet of
Yeah,
the Apes, the
yeah.
series, and I was like, okay, which one's Starsky and which one is Hutch?
There's
And he
another one.
actually
Yes.
asked that when they're in one of the episodes.
Yeah, which hair color, you know? So, yeah, I did like seeing Eric Estrada here, but he went out. So my guy, not guy, but my the standout for me has got to be Myrna Loy, who is the old alcoholic or the elderly
Right.
alcoholic, like, because I've
Yeah.
watched the crap out of like the Thin Man movies where she
Hmm.
plays Nora Charles. So for me, yeah,
Right.
I had probably the same reaction that a 75-year-old person had watching Airport 75 in 1975. Oh,
Now were those films, if you're not familiar, are they related in any way to the Slender Man
oh no,
movie?
no, no, no. Thin Man. For people that don't know, it's kind of like a martini drinking posh couple that go around solving mysteries. It's the Thin Man because that is the mystery from the first movie. That confused me as a kid because I'm like, I like these movies, but why are they all Thin Man? Kind of like Pink Panther, you know?
Right. Yeah,
At least the
exactly
Pink
right.
Panthers would, because the Pink Panther is only in the first movie, right?
Hmm.
And
Right.
from then on out, it's like you see the animated segments of the Pink Panther, which is appealing to kids. Thin Man doesn't have
Sure
that.
is.
You don't get
Yeah.
an animated Slender Man running around
Yeah.
those 1930s and 40s
Yeah, the
movies.
Pink Panther Diamond, of course.
Right, right. So
The
once it's the
reference.
Pink Panther strikes again, it's like, no, no, no. Inspector Clouseau is not the Pink Panther. Just like this movie, it's like airport. Like, why is this not airplane? And then when they did the parody, it's airport. You know, that would seems like it would make more sense.
Yeah, like very little of this film takes place at an airport. Now, there's so much good stuff in the original airport movie where stuff did take place. My icon, the picture, my avatar that I use for my family's, Life 360 circle, which is kind of like where we can stalk each other's location. That's George Kennedy wearing a TWA hat, taxiing a 707
Yeah, how could George
from
Kennedy
that
not be in
scene.
this movie?
Oh yeah, I know. He shows up again. So my wife and I sit down to watch. We watch Airport, and then the next day we watch Airport 75. And Petroni's wife, played by George Kennedy, sits down with the 10-year-old son, something like that. The kid,
Yeah.
and she's scared to fly. And he goes, "Don't worry, mom. Dad says this airplane's a real pussycat. And I leave it over to my wife. I go, nah, kid, it's a tomcat. And she looks at me like, what? And I'm just watch the movie. Just watch it. So we watched the whole movie, and we get to the end where they're coming down the slide, and the kid says to Petroni, spoiler alert, cut to the end. Um, See, Dad, I told Mom this airplane was a real pussycat. And he goes, nah, kid. It's a tomcat. And at that point, she was like, what is wrong with you that you know these lines? I was like, I've been watching this movie since I was 8.
It's like the best bad writing ever. Like I wouldn't change a line of dialogue in this movie, but like most of it's not even close to good. Um,
No.
I didn't realize until after I watched it, the dying 10-year-old girl or whatever is Linda Blair. Probably because I haven't watched The
Right.
Exorcist enough. But yeah, and
Yeah.
then Sid Caesar, I barely noticed. He's someone where I definitely know his name, and I feel like I should know Sid
Hmm.
Caesar, but yeah, I don't. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was kind of ubiquitous. I think he was yeah. He was the guy that was talking about the picture, right?
Well, he
There
is
was a
Barney. Yeah, he's Barney,
yeah.
whoever
Yeah.
Barney is.
Um
It's hard to keep
but yeah,
track in this
yeah,
movie.
he was everywhere when I was a kid. Probably just a little bit ahead of your time.
Yeah. Here's another
Um
Planet of the Apes connection. Wait, like number 30 on the call sheet is Linda Harrison. Nova from the movies is Winnie. This is insane.
did not realize she was in it. She might have just been I'll have to go back just for that once
Eric
again.
Estrada is way, way down on this list. I mean, I'm looking at Wiki. Who else? Oh, Jerry Stiller. I certainly noticed him. And seeing Jerry Stiller
Yeah.
not being like
Mhm.
very old was weird.
Not being very old and fighting his neighbors in Del Boca Vista Phase 2.
Yeah. So again, that's just, I guess, my age, like I was just listening to people talking about how some kids, when they see Sonic the Hedgehog, they're like, Jim Carrey is Dr. Robotnik. That's who Jim Carrey is. Like they don't know
Yeah.
about the mask in Ace Ventura or you liar,
Right.
liar. They're
Yep.
like, he's the bad guy from the Sonic
Yeah.
movies. So
I remember there was a thing when Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan came out that to many people, William Shatner was T.J. Hooker, that he was not Captain Kirk at that point in their young lives. They
there's
didn't
just a
remember.
sliver of time for that. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, wow, yeah, that's the guy that plays T.J. Hooker. Well, yes, and
I was a dumb kid. I watched a lot of Three's Company, so of course I got Norman Fell here as well.
Yep.
Which one was he? Mr. Roper was, which one's Don Knotts? I don't remember which one's which, but
Mr. Roper, because they got their own series, The Ropers.
yes, okay.
Yeah, and Don Knotts was Fielding or something like
Yeah.
that.
That's got to be one of the better sitcom switch outs because I'm like,
Yeah.
neither of those disappoint me. I like
Hmm.
seeing both of them. So
Yeah, same here. But I do like all seriousness, all kidding aside, I will say, um, Efren Zimbalist Jr. as the captain, a picture of a silver-haired, mustachioed man like that is just that should be the picture next to airline pilot in the dictionary,
yeah, I didn't have the
as
name
far as I'm
Captain
concerned.
Stacy yet, so my first couple notes call him Captain Hair.
That was fantastic. And it was Karen Black as the flight attendant who ended up
Right.
taking over the airplane.
Okay,
And
I'm good. Oh, go ahead.
she knew, I was going to say, she knew just enough about flying to be able to ask the right questions and understand what visually impaired Captain Stacy was talking about.
That
I like that.
first scene where Heston's on the radio though talking to her, like
Yeah.
I was like, I wrote in my note, this is the ultimate mansplaining scene. It just felt that way. Probably because she did understand a little bit of it, right? And
Yep.
so that little bit of understanding somehow made it worse. Um, I want to talk about Karen Black. Her first scene. Did they give her the worst makeup job I've seen in a major motion picture?
I don't know what they were trying to do there. If it was, I just think of that Orville line. You ever heard of combination skin? If they were trying two different looks, or maybe they were kind of torn between the disco era and old Hollywood, I'm not sure.
And I'm going to say something now. This is a weird personal thing for me. Something about her facial structure annoys me. And it's the second time this happened. For years, and this is saying nothing about her as an actress, as a singer, who I'm about to say, but I've had the same problem for like 30 years with Reba McEntire, who has a similar face.
Yeah.
And
There is something um with certain facial types,
maybe the
and I don't
symmetry
know
is
why.
in a way that sets like off something in the back of my
Yeah.
brain because I'm like, if I met them, they could be the best people, but I'm
Oh
just
my
like
gosh. Probably
something.
just salt of the earth. Yeah.
Right, but something about those two actresses' faces
Hmm.
make me feel like weird. I don't get
Yeah.
it. I feel bad about it, but it's there, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So,
No, I totally get it. Can't overlook Larry Storch, TV's Agarn from F Troop.
yeah, and he was in the Twilight Zone recently, I think.
Yeah.
I just ran
Yeah.
across him in a zone. I mean,
Yep.
that's one of the reasons we're doing this because it has so many overlaps with the Planet of the Apes show and movies. We
Yeah.
got Heston and Linda Harrison in here, right? So,
Yep.
yeah, but yeah, and then just I guess Hollywood isn't as big as sometimes it seems. You got 50 character actors on a Rolodex to call, and all of them got called for this movie in Earthquake, like being the other big sitting right here. So what do we? Yeah, earthquakes. Heston, Ava Gardner, George Kennedy again, Lauren Green, of course, Genevieve Bujold, Richard Roundtree. I mean, it's like why
Hmm.
aren't they in Airport 75?
Yeah, that's a good
Some of them
point.
are.
I'm looking at an actor named Eugene Dynarski. Not familiar, but he's a bald man with a goatee, and I just put his picture in the chat. And if that ain't Mirror Picard, I don't know what is.
I'm checking that out. It's thinking about it. Dang Zoom. Oh, geez. Okay, yeah. It's like if Patrick Stewart and Kenny Rogers had a baby.
Yeah, and just that goatee, just that I can just see the sleeveless you know 24th century next gen
Yeah, for sure.
outfit with a imperial logo on there.
Sorry, what's the actor's name one more time?
Eugene Dynarski.
Okay, just in case people feel like looking that up on an audio podcast. Speaking of
Yeah.
looking up, let's look up to the sky for a bit and see if we can get that radio working again. Mark, how are things on your doomed airplane? What did you think of Airport 75? And I'll give him a bit to monologue there, and then we'll rock on back in. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, well, sounds like things are not good up there, so we'll
Well,
see what happens.
hopefully the real star of this feature film will come in.
Yeah.
Drop in from a helicopter without getting his parachute tangled, and actually take control of this aircraft and land it and put it down. And that's Charlton Heston,
Yeah,
the
it is
man,
amazing
the
you get
myth.
this far into the discussion on the movie before he comes up, just because there's too many people in this movie in a fun way.
Yeah, it was funny. Another thing that, I've been in and out of, different management roles as an airline pilot my whole career. And um, Heston jumps into the airplane, then they have the external shot of the airplane coming down final, and it's just rocking and rolling and pitching up and down, and does not look like what we would call in the industry a stabilized approach. And I just started laughing. I was like, that's your typical management pilot out there flying an airplane. That's exactly what it looks like.
See, here is a bit of flawed construction of the movie. You're watching that, you know what's going on, right? I'm just like, they're
Yeah.
landing the plane. But once
Uh-huh.
he's in the cockpit, they've gotten rid of like 90% of the tension of the film, right? Because
I think
Charlton
so.
Heston's
Yeah.
gonna land that plane, even if he does a little
Yes.
a little
Yeah.
wanky,
Uh-huh.
wonky was the word I was looking for. Yeah, yeah. Once Heston is on board, they just land the damn plane, no other real complications. Like I feel
Yeah.
like a
And
modern movie would have one more thing that he's got to like overcome,
well,
you know?
the brakes went out, and that
Yeah.
mother's got 23 backup systems.
So
I don't know that that's true. Usually there's like a set of brakes for each hydraulic system you have, as well as like an accumulator, which is like a something that holds hydraulic pressure with an air charge behind it. And then there's reverse thrust, and there's it'd be a real stretch for me to come up with 23 backup systems on a transport category aircraft for the brakes, but not unusual. I would say, half dozen on an airplane that size with four engines. Maybe they got a few more tricks up its sleeve.
And here's what I thought was funny. And maybe I got this slightly wrong. I don't know. But once Heston is flying the plane, one of the people in the cabin just kind of looks and they walk up to the cockpit to like tell him
Hmm.
something, which one, you can't do that anymore.
Mm-mm.
And then they kind of ignore him and send him off, and it doesn't become a problem. So
Get him out of here.
they got him out of there, and I was like, why was that scene even in there? Like
I
it
don't
was.
know, man. It's just, what we call an additive condition, a distraction or something that you have to manage. And, Captain Murdoch knew what he was doing. It would have been more fitting if he stuck his head in the flight deck and said, "I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you."
That would have been great. I see. That would have been narratively smarter. That would have
That
made
would
more
have been.
sense narratively. So I don't know. I mean, again, I did say I wouldn't change a line in this movie, and I wouldn't, but I might add a
Mhm.
line like that in for sure. Are there any other major points you want to throw on this, or some insight that the layman would not have figured out that is horribly correct or horribly wrong?
Oh gosh, I mean, again, it's been a few years since I've seen this movie. It made an impression on me of just being, high stakes, high action. I think they did get a lot of the language right. I don't, usually like, we won't call it the red eye special. We'll just call it like an all-nighter, but that's sort of airline specific. Like when I flew at TWA, we always called it the all-nighter coming back if you were flying somewhere all night. Not the red eye special, but I can see that. I thought that was kind of cool. I love the footage of Dulles International Airport where they were taken off of, and the what we call the people movers, those kind of you know trucks with the scissor lifts and stuff that they use to get
Oh,
people
right,
from
right,
terminal
right.
terminal to terminal.
It's only been the
Those
past 10 years when I started having interesting boardings and and getting off the plane. Until I was like 40, it's always been like, the air bridge on and off.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
recently, I've been on a bus, I've been down a thing, walked straight onto a tarmac in Okinawa. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, like we do in Burbank. So I mean, I really didn't see for me a lot of things in that movie that stand out at this point as being like hokey or just off. Like I think it was just an overly dramatic, overly um unusual day in the life of airline people. And I love that.
I guess that's the special sauce of a 70s disaster movie is you go so insanely self-serious and you stop just before it becomes a comedy, which is the Zaz genius because it's like 2% more and it's hysterical.
But I loved the the Towering Inferno. Anything by Irwin Allen that was a disaster movie, like I was just begging my parents to go see.
But I watched the Poseidon Adventure a few months ago for I actually I had seen bits and pieces on TV. It was the first time I just sat down and watched the Poseidon Adventure. It was around New
Hmm.
Year's, and I was like, man, this movie is kind of cruel. Like people just like blow up and die, pretty
Yeah.
suddenly. Like your beloved TV actors just eat it instantly. They just fall right off that catwalk and they're dead. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that's kind of intense.
Exactly. You think about these mistakes that people can make. Um, in truth and in fact, there's on any given day, I think people are maybe one misstep away, one slip off a catwalk from that being it. Now, it's a shame that something like that ends your life, but
Yeah.
it happens in
Airport
national
75 doesn't
parks.
have that
Yeah.
body count. The only person who dies is Eric Estrada, I think. And is he the
Yeah.
engineer? Maybe some other guy who died in the cabin there or
No, I
the
believe
cockpit?
yeah, he was the flight engineer. The airplane hit. I can imagine that the dude who flew the airplane into
Yeah,
the
that's Cessna or
747.
whatever. Well, I guess it wasn't a Cessna,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's
Yeah.
not doing so well.
That guy, yeah, that guy had to bite it, right? Did
Yeah.
they did we
Yeah, he's
cover
having a
that?
heart attack anyway, so
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's right. It was cloudy and he's clutching his heart and he's going, "Arr." Yeah, there was a lot of intrigue, a lot of character development.
insane
Um
foreshadowing.
insane Foreshadowing. That's a good way to put it, man. Yeah, in fact, I'm motivated to watch this movie again. I thought it was a blast.
Yeah. Well, again, I think I said before the actual episode, but you are pinch hitting, and that's why you didn't just watch it for the listener. So I'm like, hey, Mike knows about Airport 75. He could do this.
Yeah, yeah. If you guys
Um,
have heard me on any of Matt's other podcasts, I do my due diligence. I hope that comes across.
Yeah, so there is a reason for this, as it's as you did just fly into this podcasting studio from Mark's airplane, which we'll get back to in a few minutes. But let's do some questions first. I decided not to change our questions at all for Airport 1975, so
So many bananas.
we're gonna do bananas. But first, we're gonna say how much of this is existential dread and how much of it is sci-fi fun. You can call science airplane science if you want.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Boy, I mean, those folks on that airplane were in a battle to exist for their existence.
Yeah, that's
So it ain't none. It's not zero existential dread. Um, I'll give it. I think, but so I think it slightly tips the scale. Um, 55%. We are invested in these people. We want to make sure they live another day. We want Gio Petroni's wife and son to make it off that airplane, right? We want Karen Black to for all of her effort not to be for nothing. Um, I'm gonna go 55% existential dread and 45% sci-fi fun.
okay. I think this movie thinks it is 80% existential dread. But just so many fake facades and stuff. Like for me watching, I'm like, man, I get what they're saying, but it's like 20% existential dread for
Yeah.
me. There's just
Yeah, like the amount
everything's
of
fun.
drama. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
The
everything's
amount of
fun, and the parts that aren't fun, the parts that aren't fun are kind of boring. That's the other double-edged sword of a 70s disaster film. The parts that aren't fun are kind of boring.
Yeah, the amount of drama and music and scoring and panographic view imagery for something as simple as thrust levers. Push up the thrust levers. Like that was a lot for something that is, is really something that's kind of easy to do. Doesn't really take a lot of intuition. Pull back on the yoke, push up on the throttles, right? Drive up
Right.
a hill, step on the gas pedal. Same thing.
You knew the banana question was coming. We typically go up to 7 bananas. I mean, we're already putting bananas onto an airport movie, so I don't know how you're going to answer
And
this
and and,
question.
and we have no definition of a banana. It's
Nah, no.
whatever.
Seven's a bunch. We
No.
did learn that. Seven is a bunch of bananas, generally.
Really? Okay. Let me see. I was going to see how many Planet of the Apes crossovers I can come up with on this cast list and maybe assign one banana for each of those. But I think the movie quite honestly deserves more bananas. I think for a sequel, um, it's 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 entertaining. I think it's probably bigger,
Bigger and
more,
better.
more, more. I think it's probably better produced. I think it's bigger in scope and ambition than the original Airport. So I'm gonna give it 4.5 bananas.
Okay. Half a banana. No, for me, I was thinking this is kind of like this is the maximalist center. I'm thinking of modern disaster films where you got Independence Day, which is a better movie, but The Day After Tomorrow is way more insane.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's something to insanity, and I guess the ultimate for this particular through line is it Airport 81, the Concorde, that is the just completely, you know,
Yeah, I think
ape
it was
nuts one.
79.
It maybe
Yeah,
it's 79, but yeah, the
right.
Concorde I remember just being like that and Meteor starring Sean Connery just being where the disaster movie completely goes off the rails,
That
which
was a
is
weird
for
one.
me very entertaining, but
The interesting thing about Airport 79, which it was called SST or the Concorde or something like that, was somehow Joe Petroni goes from like a mechanic, right? An aircraft maintenance technician or somebody who's working in, tech ops to being captain of the Concorde. Now that's a crossover that people certainly do. You know, people, either often start an airline working in maintenance and then, have a career change. But to go from, airport, the first one, and still being having a maintenance function, right? In 75? Or was he like VP of flight ops or something? Did they give him a title?
He's in the room when they're talking about how to save his plane, right? So
Yeah, yeah. So it's
that
definitely
does suggest he's not like just a grunt.
yeah. But when he was taxiing the airplane around at the beginning of airport, the first one, he
Mm.
sure looked like a grunt.
Oh, okay. So
Um,
here he's doing
yeah,
okay. At
and
10
a snore
years.
some.
10
Yeah,
years from grunt to captain.
he's moved up quite a bit. Did
He's
did Airport come out in 65?
Oh no, no, is that what I said? I thought I said
Oh,
70.
oh yeah, no, no, no. Oh, I see what you're saying. From grunt to captain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Airport 79, the Concorde was that was a lot. That was right up there with SST Death Flight with Robert Reed.
Ooh, that's got a
If
great
you
title.
guys if you guys
Yeah,
are
with
familiar.
Robert Reed, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that was in the title, but it was with Robert Reed.
It's amazing how many of these 70s disaster movies there actually are. Because there's a lot of things where it's like, hey, it feels like there's 8,000 Spielberg movies from the 80s, and you go and there's only like
Yeah.
five.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And one of them is Always.
yeah.
One was
That's
like
that's yeah. That's another great aviation film that every I think every pilot has to see. But yeah, so it's I think the movie is bigger, better, more ambitious. Certainly, I think I don't know if
Do you trust
cheesier is the
Richard
right word.
Dreyfuss flying a plane?
About as much as I trust Harrison Ford or John Denver.
Uh-oh. Um, do they generally serve bananas on commercial flights?
I don't know about generally, but I do think that on some first class meals I've had like a banana served on the side of, say, a breakfast plate.
Okay, then I'll just have to give this a first class banana. So it's a really nice banana, but it's
Done.
just the one. I mean, we don't have apes in this movie, so we just have people that play them on television.
It's true. Yeah, we don't. And I can't think of a disaster movie. I mean, we count King Kong, I guess, with an ape
70
or
spot
Mighty Joe
7 King
Young.
77 King
Oh,
Kongs. That counts as a disaster film, I
that
think.
that is, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. They don't even screw around the island in that one. There's no dinosaurs, if I remember.
Uh-uh.
That was
Yeah,
a
although I
mistake.
still have an issue with that movie because the promotional material showed um Kong with like 1 foot on each of the twin towers of the World Trade Center. So like that big, just crushing a fighter in one
I think
hand.
he's a different
Never,
size in
never,
every scene.
never happened in the movie. Never happened.
No, that's one where like the ride is the thing for me. Confrontation is based on the 77 movie, right? You're in 70s New
Mhm.
York when you're on the when you were on the ride. It's not there anymore, but
Yeah.
yeah. Loved Banana Breath. All that is great. So one first class banana. Let's check in with Mark as the ghost of Charlton Heston is attempting a daring rescue of his airplane. Mark, how much of Airport 75 is sci-fi fun and how much is existential dread? And most importantly, how many bananas do you give this movie? Are you reading me? Okay. There you have it. Seems the plane will be landing soon, being um landed by a training director. Well, we are starting off April here, so if you'd like to tell the good folks where to find your stuff.
You can find us on Roddenberry Podcasts. I am a co-host with Jessica Lynn Verdi of Mission Log the Orville. Uh, Anxiously awaiting a season 4 production date, and in the meantime, we're going to do a series of Who Did It Better, comparing Star Trek episodes to its Orville counterpart. One example is For the Earth is Hollow, and I've Touched the Sky. We'll compare that to If the Stars Appear, two generational ships whose folks don't know they're on a generational ship. Another episode we might compare is Lasting Impressions on the Orville with next generation episode Booby Trap.
Movie trap. Compare Airport 75 with Airplane, except you just did that, so you don't have to do that again. Yeah,
Nope.
this is podcast 1999. Do rate and review positively where applicable. We do a lot of podcasts at podcastios.org. Time Enough podcast talking about the Twilight Zone like you were there literally 2 hours ago. Uh,
We were in Jeopardy, or
we
the
were in,
Jeopardy room, I
we were in
should
a
say.
room of Jeopardy, yes. So now we're in peril. Well, Mark's in peril. Um, what was I saying? Twilight Zone, Films and Filth. You're there sometimes. We're talking about really highly rated and really lowly rated movies on the Internet Movie Database. So come on and check that out. News reports are coming in. The plane is landing. The inflatable slides are coming down, and they're playing fanfare music at the airport. So everything worked out. Have a happy April Fools, folks. Not. Gotta add that in. Okay, I'm gonna hit the button.